I'm about to tell you who the next president's going to be. That's right, 2024, I'm going to reveal it to you. Donald Trump was in rally mode last night, and we all love Donald Trump in rally mode. He was crushing Democrats. And finally, a little parody video that you are going to want to stick around for. All that is coming up right now on I'm Right. I know who the next president of the United States is going to be, and I'm about to tell you. His name is Donald Trump, only it's Donald Trump Jr. No, I'm not being hyperbolic. I'm not sitting here, waving my Donald Trump pom-poms. That's not what I'm doing. But Donald Trump Jr. once again proved his chops today as he descended into the seventh circle of hell known as The View and fought off the wolves. And it was a seriously impressive display. And before we get to the clips, I'm going to tell you why it's so impressive. It is a difficult thing. It's easy to sit back in your armchair and change the channel and be, I want that guy to fight. He should fight back. That's an easy thing to say until you are seated in the chair, surrounded by enemies in the crowd, and they're coming at you. Why do you think every single D.C. politician, well, not everyone, most of them, why do you think they go into Washington, D.C. and they just make a big mess of themselves? They'll last for 6 months to a year, and what are they doing after that point? They're forgetting all the campaign promises they made you, and they're just trying to say and do the things that'll make the media back off of them. Is it because they're all spineless invertebrates? Well, some of them, yes. But no, the truth of the matter is that is a difficult thing for human beings to go through. Human beings seek out the approval of others. I don't, but that's because I'm a sociopath. You very likely seek out the approval of other people. It's human nature. It is a difficult thing when you leave your congressional office and you're walking to your car or you're walking to the floor and you have a million different reporters in your face. Is it true that you still beat your wife? Why are you a Nazi? That is a difficult thing to go through. It's not pleasant. Normal people that aren't named Jesse Kelly, do not enjoy that experience. And so what happens? They crumble. They all crumble like a house of cards. Eventually, they're chipping at you and chipping at you and chipping at you. And finally, you're just saying and doing the things so the noise will stop. It is human nature to want the noise to stop. And who gets screwed? Well, you do. The voter gets screwed. You're sitting back home thinking, well, who's this jellyfish? I sent what I thought was a fighter to D.C., and all of a sudden I have this loser back there. He got worn down, people. And there are a lot of solutions for that. I can't fix the entire country in the 1 hour show tonight, so we're just going to focus on a few things, and I'll fix the country over the course of the next year or so. So Donald Trump Jr., when he goes on The View, that is a difficult thing to do. And it's difficult not just for the crowd, not just for the hosts, but because America watches that. And not that I'm touting The View's ratings, but look, you go on The View, you get some video clips out there, America is going to be watching those highlights. He made himself look good in front of the country while fighting back and fighting back hard. And understand something. Remember what I just said about the noise, people wanting the noise to stop? So much of the hand-wringing you see on the right about Donald Trump. I just wish he would stop calling people names. I wish things were kind like they used to be. So much of that is people want quiet, and they mistake quiet. I think this is an Avengers line. They mistake quiet for peace. It's not peace. If you walk out of your office building today and you see a man beating a child on the sidewalk, and you run up and start beating the guy, are you responsible for the violence, or is he? What we have is a media, an activist Democrat media, that has enjoyed complete carte blanche to wail on every single Republican they find. They beat on you, and they beat on you, and they beat on you, and they know eventually the Republicans will be like, oh, okay, sir, I'll do whatever you want. And finally, you have Donald Trump. He comes in and says, nah, screw you. I don't like you. The American people don't like you. And that's why the press has spent the last 3 years freaking out about it. They don't even know how to deal with somebody like that. Well, what do you mean he's not backing up? He doubled down? He can't do that. He can. And apparently he passed that trait along to his son. Now, Donald Trump Jr. has the look of a president. He speaks like a president. And clearly, he has the spine of the president, of somebody who could be president. He's going to have Donald Trump's fundraising infrastructure in place, going to have Donald Trump's campaign infrastructure in place. Oh, and before I forget, his name is Donald Trump. Do you think that might help with the name ID portion when people go to the polls? I mean, trust me, you've seen half the voters in this country. It'll be, Flossie, look, Trump's running again. Let's just vote for him. So, of course, the View hyenas went after him. They went after him hard. First, they went after him about releasing the whistleblower's name, who everybody already knows already, because Adam Schiff included the name in the transcript. Here it is.
The whistleblower's name was on a little website called The Drudge Report a couple of days ago. It was in Real Clear Politics. I literally quote tweeted an article that had the guy's name in the title of the article. So that whole thing is nonsense. But I wish the outrage would be equal. I mean, there was no outrage when, my family got an exploding letter of, with white powder substance in it. They're protecting a guy, in the CIA, and there's great outrage. But when your family gets something, it's there. And that's a big part of the book, which is it's not a level playing field in terms of outrage. We do live in an outrage culture.
You know what I think I like most about him? The fact that he clearly copied my beard. And he's right about that. He's right about that. Whether you love Donald Trump or hate Donald Trump, if you take a step back and look at how his family has been treated, how his supporters have been treated after the last 3 years, it's been ugly. You probably didn't even remember that white powder story, did you? Well, they sure remember. It has been a vicious, vicious display going after this guy. And he's right that it was crickets. Nobody even knew. All of a sudden, a whistleblower comes forward, an Obama-loving, Joe Biden-loving, John Brennan-loving whistleblower comes forward. And, well, he must be protected like an innocent little lamb. Come on, get out of here with that stuff. But, he continued. He talked a little bit about Epstein and the hypocrisy of, well, a whistleblower.
ABC is right now chasing down a whistleblower about all of the Epstein stuff because those stories were killed. So if we're going to have the conversation about the outrage about whistleblowers, you work with CBS stuff. You work with CBS.
Even the crowd knows that to be true. And what's he talking about? Let's not forget. We have to protect this whistleblower, this impeachment whistleblower. He's sacred. You can't go after a whistleblower, but to guard the whistleblower. Oh, wait a minute. It was what? Yesterday, ABC got caught on camera. Somebody leaked out behind-the-scenes footage of ABC saying, we had everything on Epstein. We had a witness. We had pictures. We even had Clinton. They quashed the story. Well, what did they do? They dug into who was this person? Who leaked this footage? How could they possibly leak this? But you can't do that. Turns out the whistleblower has moved on from ABC, works at another network now, and they went after him there. Apparently, whistleblower protections, whistleblowers are only supposed to be protected when they're going after Donald Trump. If they're not going after Donald Trump, it's open season, baby. That's what it looks like. There was a moment on there because Meghan McCain is on The View. Obviously, as everybody knows, that's John McCain's daughter. And as everybody knows, John McCain and Donald Trump hated each other with the fire of 1,000 suns. So Donald Trump Jr. and Meghan McCain had a little moment.
Character in politics, I believe, is important. It was how I was raised. It's the way I view the lens of America. And I understand what you're saying about policy, but when you're talking about attacking Gold Star families who have given the ultimate sacrifice more than any of in this room have given, and you put them through pain, does it make you feel like this was worth it?
And I know he does a lot with Gold Star families, and he calls a lot of those Gold Star families, and he has a lot of care for those people. But when he's under constant attack by the same people, when he's under attack by the establishment, when he's under attack by this, the reality is this: he's a counterpuncher. And as a conservative, I would hope that you would appreciate that conservatives haven't been known for fighting back for a very long time. They've ceded ground to the liberals and the liberal elite for decades by not actually fighting back. So I understand we can keep going back to character. I think he has great character. I think my family has character.
Her father.
I understand that, and I'm sorry about that. They did have differences. I agree with that.
Actually, kind of a nice little moment. He ended up with an I'm sorry about that. Look, I will tell you this because, well, I'm awesome. I actually knew John McCain personally. I once ran for Congress a couple times in Arizona. A lot of people know that. I got to know John McCain on a personal level. I understand a lot of people hate John McCain. A lot of people love John McCain. We saw eye to eye in that we were both old military guys, and he thought I was a little bit cocky, and he actually loved that about me. I know you may find that surprising. I would argue, although I don't know Donald Trump personally, those two are probably more alike than either of them care to admit, and that is most likely why they hated each other so very much. I'm not going to dig into that, but I actually thought that was a nice moment. Donald Trump Jr., Meghan McCain, little back and forth. Hey, sorry about that. Not the end of the world. Well, Joy Behar. I know my audience is a big, big, big fan of Joy Behar. She decided she was going to go after Donald Trump Jr., and I want you to pay attention to this while you watch this clip. If you are a Republican running for office, thinking about running for office, this is how you handle yourself. It's uncomfortable. You know, your mommy might not like it. But stop laying down and eating the crap sandwich they hand you. Give it right back to them, as Donald Trump Jr. did.
We've all done things that we regret. I mean, if we're talking about bringing a discourse down, Joy, you've worn blackface. Whoopi,
No,
you
I
said
haven't.
that Roman Polanski.
I'm sorry, and don't. If
you
you
said
do
that
it,
Roman Polanski, it wasn't rape when he raped a child. So let's
okay.
talk about
So yeah, no,
serious
let's
things.
talk
Come on,
about
that's
this. So
not
you
fair.
want to bring this up? The question came up.
I did not go in blackface, please.
No, she was not in blackface.
Thank you.
That's how it's done. Uncomfortable? Yes. Is it the politics of politeness? The way it used to be, which is a lie, by the way? No, it's not that. And when I say it's a lie, Thomas Jefferson and John Adams accused each other of pedophilia on the campaign trail. This myth that politics used to just be tea and strumpets, and we would all powder each other's noses, and it was so much fun. Politics is now and has always been a contact sport. Ask Julius Caesar. It's the way that goes. But the media hates, and you saw how they lashed out about that when you come back at them. The media very much believes it should be a one-way street. We are the First Amendment firefighters. We are fighting for truth and justice and the American way. What? You can't question us. We question you. And Joy Behar, her protesting there. I've never worn blackface. Apparently she did.
Is that you, Joy?
Oh, you know this picture.
Joy, is that you?
Yes.
Joy, that is
Oh,
you?
yes.
Joy, are you
Wait.
black?
No, I know. I was so cute. Look how cute I was.
Are you my auntie, Joy?
No. That is me.
My word. What year is this? Circa
I
what?
was 29. It was a Halloween party. I went as a beautiful African woman.
Oh, yes, you ain't black.
But that's my hair. That's my hair.
That, you could be, yeah, but it is. So the whole point of
why are
that
you
curly
upset with
hair
me
is
now?
coming back? I thought
That is me.
Did you have tanning lotion on,
A
Joy?
little, I had makeup that was a little bit darker than my skin.
Oops. That's how it's done, ladies and gentlemen. Go right back at them because everything they throw at you, they're guilty of. Now, one of my good friends, Chief Creative Officer at Turning Point USA, Benny Johnson, is about to join us in a second to talk about all things Donald Trump Jr. and the state of the race and where we are as a country. And well, Benny's just awesome anyway, almost as awesome as me. All of that may have made you uncomfortable, but I'm right. Hang on. Welcome back. Joining me now is my friend, Chief Creative Officer of Turning Point USA, Benny Johnson. Benny, are you at Wrigley Field? What is this background I'm looking at here?
So our studio right now is being used for a shoot that we're putting together, and we are inside of our green room. It's literally a room with green ivy on the walls. And so around here, the puns are just amazing.
Oh, the next time I get back to DC, I'm going to have so many bad jokes in that room. I'm just going to start writing them down right now. All right, Now, I made a prediction. I actually was not trying to be hyperbolic. I think Donald Trump Jr. should run for president in 2024, and I think he would walk into the office of the presidency. And it's not just about the View thing. Obviously, everybody saw the View clips. He killed it today. I don't know if you guys are close or not. I assume you are. But what I see is a guy who can speak, a guy who stands up for himself, a guy with a beard that looks just like mine. He's a conservative. He rallies people around him. When you can descend into the lion's den like that and fight off the hordes, I found that to be very, very impressive. He's not afraid to go out there. What say you?
Yeah, so being on the View this morning was like tossing in a ribeye into the hungry lion pit. It was just attack after attack, even from the people that are supposed to be center right on that show. And Don Jr. just owned, and he just clobbered on that show. It was really, really something special to watch. We are here at Turning Point headquarters, where we just recently named a balcony here at the building after Don Jr. We had a big public naming ceremony. He's obviously gone to campus for us, and I've been able to watch him battle raconteur with multiple leftists from every conceivable population of the movement, the socialists, the communists, the faculty, the radicals in the streets, Antifa. Don Jr. is just able to own every single level. And then the highest, the final boss, Jesse, final boss is the View. If you can go on the View, that is final boss. And he was able to clean up, right?
He was. Look, it wasn't just that he did it, Benny. He had the ladies that were in the crowd of the View cheering. That is difficult to do. And I really wasn't trying to be over the top about it. I have seen this for a while now. I see a guy who, let's say 2024 rolls around and Donald Trump's finishing up his second term, which I think he will. Donald Trump Jr. clearly has the name ID because he shares the name. He's got the campaign infrastructure in place. He has the fundraising infrastructure in place. The populist conservative coalition will still be with him. I say this guy is ripe for it. You need to start pushing him.
Well, so there's just a lot of inside of the conservative movement, people like a fighter. That's what this era has been about. This era has been about fighting back. Something that we do here every single day at Turning Point is go into enemy territory on campus and fight back. And people love that. The world of mushy, we will oversee slower decline conservatism is over. We now want an offensive war, and we want to be able to fight the left, where the left believes they have total ownership, and we're creating beachheads here all the time. Don Jr. is obviously someone who's really helping us in that war. He's a complete fighter, and he has just done marvelously for us. And I see him in states across the country, traveled with him to multiple states. The guy just cleans up, and honestly, he is the type of conservative that people are very, very attracted to.
All right, I have a two-part question, and the two questions are completely unrelated to each other because I'm not what you'd call a journalist. One, do I get a wing or a balcony named after me? And if not, why not? And two, why college campuses? I love the mission. Explain to people why you're on college campuses.
Yeah, so there's this. I'll do the second question first and then the first question. The college campus question is a very easy answer. The left has created a propaganda war for our students and our young people for the last 100 years. And in this country, they have created absolute ownership of the education systems and the education mechanisms and machines in this country. The reason that we interact on college campuses and that we create what we like to call a beachhead on college campuses is that if you see this as a war for our country and you see this as a war for our culture, which we do, then you have to be able to fight an offensive war to win. And so our beachhead is going to be the college campus. The college campus is something that is wholly owned subsidiary of the institutional left. And it's where communism, socialism, it's where these ideas, the AOCs that are in Congress now, all of their ideas start on a college campus. And so you have to be able to fight the war there. That is why we do our work there every single day. And it's incredible to see the response and the hundreds of thousands of students that are part of Turning Point clubs at over 1,000 Turning Point chapters across the country. Secondly, Jesse, we recently catered Buffalo Wild Wings in our office, and we will be happy to name that wing after you. I think there's still one left in a dish, an army tray.
You know what? That's not very nice, Benny. You travel around to all these college towns, and if college towns are known for one thing, it's for, food. There's always some kind of newfangled food or quadruple cheeseburger in between grilled cheese sandwiches out there. What's the best piece of college food you've had since you were out there, and where can I find it?
So we went to Colorado with Don Jr. And Kimberly Guilfoyle, and we went to Colorado for the Culture War Tour. And it was Colorado State University in Fort Collins, Colorado, and there was the #1 brew pub there, and they had bison poutine. So it's fries with all this gravy and melted cheese, and the meat on it was bison, and I had never had that before, and oh my God, Jesse, it was really delicious.
Oh, gosh, that sounds phenomenal. All right, so I'm going to Colorado soon. Now, changing gears a little bit here, state of the race for the Democrat Party. Obviously, we know they're insane. I am a little bit surprised. I'm not surprised that Joe Biden faltered. I'm a little surprised that this appears to be, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're the wired-in D.C. guy that sits in the Oval Office. This looks like Elizabeth Warren's race to lose. Now, how did that happen? She has no chance to win Rust Belt votes. How did that happen?
Yeah, it's Elizabeth Warren understanding the populist nature of this Democratic primary, understanding that Bernie Sanders is seen as very old and decrepit by a considerable portion of the leftist bloc, and that there's a battlefield to be made up from what happened with Hillary versus Bernie. And that battlefield is something that is obviously wide open and was waiting for air. And I believe that Warren, with her plans and with the way that what she is suggesting for the American economy, healthcare, Medicare for all, the criminalization essentially of wealth, and the pure attack of class warfare, that's just Bernie 2.0. And it's just retooled and being reused against a candidate that first pioneered that, and now it just has a fresh coat of paint on it. And so I think that's attracting that base. That base obviously feels like they were forgotten and were kicked out of the party and treated just like dirt in 2016. And so they're back with a vengeance, and Elizabeth Warren's sitting there waiting for them.
It really is astounding to think about. I mean, it's not astounding that Bernie Sanders and his disheveled shouting into the microphone routine did not translate more, but I just, boy, they do not have a very deep bench if you're rolling Elizabeth Warren out there. Benny Johnson, Chief Creative Officer of TP Turning Point USA. Thanks for joining me. I'll let you get back to right field in Wrigley.
Right field, that is actually exactly where I am. Good pun. Great pun, Jesse.
Coming up next, we're going to talk about the Trump rally in Lake Charles, Louisiana. Again, rally mode Trump is the best Trump, and he was on fire last night. Hang on. Donald Trump was in Monroe, Louisiana last night for a rally. He's going to be doing this a lot from now until the election of 2020. One, Donald Trump enjoys rallies. Two, they get people motivated. You pack 20, 30,000 people in a stadium. You get to stand up there with the local senator, with the governor, with the congressman. You give all of them a boost. Then they owe you a favor, and politics is really about favors. And you get to put out a bunch of TV sound bites with you slaughtering Democrats and their insane policies. One of the things we do not talk enough about on this show, something I'm going to remedy, sanctuary cities. The very concept of sanctuary cities boggles the mind. We have immigration law. As much as I want the government to be small and should be limited, immigration law is a federal matter. We're dealing with citizenship. It is a federal issue. And we have cities within the United States of America, they've decided that they're not going to obey the law. That's illegal. See what I did there? But it's true. How, as a city, can you just decide, you know what? Illegal immigrants are coming here. And believe it or not, even most residents of these crazy liberal cities, they don't want them to be a sanctuary city. I used to live in Tucson, Arizona. Tucson, Arizona is blue. You know, university town, totally lib-run city. I believe it was 2 days ago, they even rejected a measure to make themselves a sanctuary city. When you have blue Tucson going to the ballot box and saying to themselves, no, this is not a popular issue. This is one of those issues where the few liberal elite in America's cities are hammering away at it and leading the charge. Here, Donald Trump went off on it last night.
We're also confronting the deadly menace of sanctuary cities, which release dangerous criminal aliens into your neighborhoods, school zones, and city streets. Republicans believe our cities should be sanctuaries for law-abiding Americans, not criminal aliens. And Republicans will always stand with the heroes of ICE, Border Patrol, and law enforcement.
He's right about it being a life or death issue sometimes too, people. You know, every time you see that headline out there of San Francisco man kills 2, generally, if you open the article, you'll find out about 6 paragraphs down that he was in the United States of America illegally. Because our media is pathetic and they have a horrible leftist agenda that is designed to protect people like illegal immigrants, the most undertold story in the United States of America today is the crimes, the massive amount of crimes that are committed by illegal immigrants in the United States of America, on top of the fact they have already broken our immigration law just getting here. And I should say, again, I went to a Trump rally when he came here to Houston. It was a huge, fun affair. I highly recommend you go, no matter how you feel about it. They're fun, they're interesting. There was no issue, and I think he talked for about an hour and a half. There was no issue that brought the House down like illegal immigration. Donald Trump is speaking to a crowd that feels no politician has ever heard them and their complaints about illegal immigration before. And that's why it is his bread and butter. He will bring it up at every rally from now until the time he's done doing them. Well, you knew Donald Trump was not going to stand up on television and in front of a whole stage without taking some shots at the whistleblower and his lawyer. Here he was.
A lot of things have happened because, you know, I don't know if you saw, I just got off, I'm coming off the plane, and they hand me, look at this character. Okay, they just hand me this story. Coup has started, whistleblower's attorney said in 2017. You know when that was? That was a long time ago. It's all a hoax. They say January 2017, a coup has started, and the impeachment will follow. Ultimately, it's all a hoax. It's a scam. And you know who helps them? These people right back here, the media. And then it said, oops, the light's going to go off. The CNN light is going to go off. It said, from the lawyer, a sleazeball. It said, I predict at CNN will play a key role in at real Donald Trump not finishing out his first term. Can you believe this? This is a whole, and this was done a long time ago. Then he goes, as one falls, 2 more will take their place, referring to outgoing Trump administration employees who, by the way, have been put through hell by the sleaze back there and by crooked politicians.
You have to enjoy when he takes shots at the media. By the way, little inside baseball for you here if you've never been to one of these. At a rally, he's always at a stadium, right? And he's standing up at a podium here, and then there's crowds up on his sides, and the media is always about 100, 200 feet back from the stage, and they're on their own stage. They have a massive platform that allows them to see over the crowd and set up all their cameras over the crowd. So when you see Donald Trump never pointing down, he's always seems like he's almost pointing up at the media. That's what he's pointing at. They're elevated up there, and it is fun. It is genuinely a good time when he points them out to hear the crowd booing and hissing at them. Because let's be honest, They really do deserve it. And this whistleblower thing, while that's a story for another day, it's getting sleazier and sleazier by the day. The more the backstory comes out about this guy, the backstory comes out about his lawyer, this whole thing looks like a massive partisan setup. Not good. Well, you knew the Baghdadi race, or the Baghdadi death, I should say. Not race. He's not racing for anything anymore. The Baghdadi death was going to come up and will continue to come up along with the dog that America has fallen in love with. Here he was.
I'll say who the greatest hero was. Forget about Trump. I'm not. We did a lot of good work together. The dog was the great hero. Right? Conan. He's coming to the White House very soon. I said, bring him now. They said, sir, he's on a mission. I said, you got to be kidding. Come on. Give him a couple of days rest, please. But no, Conan is coming to the Oval Office very shortly, so that's good. But our message to these bloodthirsty savages is clear. You don't stand a chance against the righteous might of the United States military.
That dog is going to be a campaign winner for Donald Trump. I realize he's going to have to do that in the official capacity of the president, but you can bet, I bet you $1 million he's going to have some sort of medal ceremony where he presents the dog with a medal or a bone or something, and that picture or video is going to fly across the internet. And to another point that I continually make to you, remember how I've always told you it's very hard to unseat a sitting president. Republican, Democrat, no matter who they are, most of them serve 2 terms. Why? Because the power of the office allows you to basically campaign without campaigning, and the world is watching. He's going to have that dog there. It's not going to be a campaign event, but it is going to be a campaign event, and America's going to love it. The power of the office makes it very difficult to bounce a sitting president. For anybody telling you otherwise, oh, Donald Trump's toast. He's too vulgar. That's somebody way too deep in the Washington political pundit media bubble. Now, before we forget, remember Donald Trump's travel ban? You know, you can't come to America if you're from this country or that country. And the media freaked out. It's a Muslim ban, which obviously was not a Muslim ban. It's racist. The American people in poll after poll loved that ban, and Donald Trump remembered it.
I was elected to be the President of the United States, not the President of the world. After years of rebuilding other nations, we are finally rebuilding our nation. And we are finally putting America first. Haven't heard that for a long time. Past leaders transformed faraway nations into chaotic war zones. Then they demanded that American citizens accept unlimited migration from those terror-afflicted regions, stamping their visas for travel straight into your communities. Not anymore. My administration implemented the travel ban to block migration from some of the world's most dangerous and deadly places. And we're keeping terrorists, criminals, and violent extremists the hell out of our country. That's what we're doing.
He's right. And the American people like it, and his base loves it, and that is a campaign winner for Donald Trump. Well, I have more clips for you, but first we are going to go, after a little break as we pay some bills, we're going to go talk to Amber Athey, White House correspondent to the Daily Caller. She's going to get to talk to me coming up next. Well, joining me now is White House correspondent, I realize that's a fancy deal, Amber Athey with the Daily Caller. Amber, obviously Trump's in rally mode right now. He's going to be bouncing all around the country until 2020. This is his bread and butter. I was a little bit surprised last night to hear him revive the travel ban thing, a video clip we played last segment. He clearly thinks this is still a winner, right? I didn't realize we were still talking about the travel ban.
I know. I didn't realize this was still an issue either. It's certainly an interesting strategy to bring that up now of all times, especially considering the major backlash he got when this policy was first unveiled. Obviously, people incorrectly referred to it as a Muslim ban, and that's pretty much the name that has stuck with this policy, despite the fact that the administration has tried to rebrand it as a travel ban. But again, when we're looking at 2020, we're looking at things like the creation of jobs, rising wages, Trump's trade war with China, a number of other policies that are much bigger winners for the campaign than trying to focus on this 2-year-old travel ban that went over incredibly poorly.
Yeah, it piqued my interest as well. I couldn't figure it out, but normally he has a pretty good pulse on what the population likes. Maybe he thinks this is an election winner. I know the media hated it, and obviously, as you pointed out, everybody destroyed him for it. But maybe he's looking at some numbers that I don't have in front of me, and he thinks to himself, people love this. Anyway, I did want to ask you, as the White House, fancy White House correspondent and all that, have you ever gotten to ride on Air Force One or like that helicopter, Marine One?
I have not. So the only reporters who get to do that are members of the travel pool, and I am, alas, only a member of the print pool. So in the terms of the elite DC reporters, I am really only on the second tier right now.
Yeah, no, I knew you were more second tier than first tier. I just didn't want to step
you can
on your
just tell
toes
it
like
just
that.
emanates off of me.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Now, Trump went on last night to talk about the wall and Democrats and the wall and immigration. Let's play this video clip real quick.
5 or 6 years ago, they all wanted the wall. It was only when I came along and I said, we got to build the wall now. You've wanted it, but you never had the vision or the talent to get it built. So we got to build it. I figured they'd all join. And instead, they said, no, we don't want the wall anymore. They said, no, we can have drone technology. Oh, that's great. People are pouring across. You got drones flying all over the place. That's great. That's great. No, we should have said we want to never build a wall. And they would have insisted that it get built immediately.
Clearly, he thinks that's an election winner as well. Now, obviously, the GOP base loves that. The Democrat base will hate that. None of that's news. Do you think that is a winner? Is the wall and immigration still a big winner? I think the Trump campaign thinks, and I would frankly agree with them, that they rode that issue clear into the White House, that the people hungry about illegal immigration, people mad about it, they feel like no politician has ever given a crap, and he's the first one to give a crap. Is he going to campaign on this again?
I think this is way smarter than the travel ban, to be clear. I mean, when you look at what happened with this fight over the winter with the government shutdown and the national emergency declaration over funding for the wall, as they actually debated that issue, support for the wall rose dramatically between December and February of this past year. It rose something like 5 percentage points to where a majority of people supported building a wall on the southern border. Then you have this story that came out this past week about these dual citizens of Mexico and America, this Mormon family being slaughtered by drug cartels, 9 people gunned down, burned in cars, absolutely savage imagery coming out of Mexico. And Mexico apparently doing nothing to stop that, nothing to stop the fact that their country is largely controlled by the cartels as opposed to their own government, their own military. I think the president's smart to talk about this issue. Nobody wants that type of thing happening in America near our southern border.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you on that. I think there's a disconnect between the DC media, not to point fingers at you or anything like that, but I'm definitely talking about you. I think there's a disconnect between the DC media and actual jobs that take place in small towns. I mean, I actually do get to travel around quite a bit, and people get really mad when they talk about illegal immigrants taking jobs. That is something that resonates with the American people. And Trump, when he gave, everybody remembers that opening speech he gave about, Mexico's not sending their best. And you remember the press freaked out about that. They're still freaking out about it. It was racist. It was terrible. I would argue that basically won him the GOP primary that day.
This is a huge issue for those blue-collar union workers. And actually, if you look at unions, they're doing some really crazy things with membership dues, like supporting organizations like La Raza in Maryland, for example, that actually works to give illegal aliens jobs in the construction sector. So unions are selling out their own workers. So when they see illegal aliens taking their jobs, of course, stricter immigration is going to resonate with them, as it should. The president talks repeatedly about America First policies, about putting American workers first before, illegal immigrants. And that's another thing that he does with the trade wars, is he's trying to bring manufacturing jobs back to the U.S. Those are the people who got Trump elected in 2016, the blue-collar union supporters who flipped from Obama to Trump because they felt like the Democratic Party was not doing enough for them, was doing more for, in fact, global citizens, illegal aliens before American workers. So I think it's absolutely smart for the president to double down on that strategy.
Could you expand on La Raza a little bit? What exactly is La Raza?
Yeah, there's these illegal immigrant organizations, advocacy organizations. La Raza is one, La Casa is another one, La Casa de Maryland. They actually receive funding not only from unions, but also from the federal government through the Department of Labor and other departments in the government. I wrote about this a couple of weeks ago, and they actually go towards programs that provide job training and job filling, basically allowing illegal aliens to get jobs in the United States without obviously being American citizens or without being legal residents. So basically directly undermining American workers from our own federal government, from unions, from the very organizations that are supposed to be supporting Americans. It's sick, I know.
It really is. It is phenomenal when you think about the fact the American taxpayers, they both fund the Border Patrol and they fund the people who are actively undermining ICE and the Border Patrol. It's just, boy, if that doesn't sum up government, I don't know what does. Also, Trump went off about the Democrats becoming totalitarian last night. Here's a video clip.
In their campaign to transform America, Democrats are becoming increasingly totalitarian, suppressing dissent, defaming the innocent, eliminating due process, staging show trials, and trying to overthrow American democracy to impose their socialist agenda. Make no mistake, if the Democrats get back in, you will have a depression the likes of which you've never seen before.
Amber, normally I would call that, hyperbole. That's normal campaign talk. I'm an angel. This guy's the devil. If you just re-elect me, your life will be fine. If you elect him, the world's going to implode. But honestly, what's so wrong about talking about a depression when Elizabeth Warren, the currently leading candidate, is proposing $52 trillion Medicare for all plans?
And yet claims that she's not going to raise taxes on the middle class to pay for it.
Yes.
And when he's talking about totalitarianism and overthrowing a duly elected president, just look at what's happening with the impeachment inquiry. You had Democrats hyping the testimony from Alexander Vindman last week when all he was talking about was a foreign policy disagreement between himself and the president, and thinking that that Trump's foreign policy with Ukraine was going to lessen Democratic support for that country. And then you have Eric Swalwell on TV just today saying that the president is abusing his power by firing a diplomat or an ambassador who he disagrees with on foreign policy. It's exactly within the purview of the president to decide foreign policy and to implement that as he sees fit. And yet somehow this has now become an impeachable offense. It has become quite clear that the impeachment inquiry is focused much more on politics than it is anything to do with the president's actual misbehavior or any crimes that he's committed. And so in that case, they are trying to actually overthrow a duly elected president over politics.
I like that word purview. I'm going to use that word tomorrow and act like I just came up with
It's a fancy
purview.
one.
That's a good word. All right, Amber Athey, White House correspondent for the Daily Caller. That's about all we can ask of you for one sitting. Thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for having me, Jesse.
You bet. Coming right up, we have a little parody video. Yeah, you're going to want to stick around for it. Hang on. Well, as we all know, the suicide of Jeffrey Epstein has been making lots of news lately. A good friend of mine goes by the name, well, I should say his account goes by the name Matt's Idea Shop. Highly recommend you follow him, by the way, if you're on Twitter. Guy puts out hilarious stuff all the time. He put out a little Lord of the Rings parody, and let me caution you, stay for the ending. Stay with it. Here it is.
Is it secret? Is it safe?
What are you doing?
Hold out your hand, Frodo. It's quite cool. What can you see? Can you see anything?
Nothing. There's nothing. Wait. There are markings. It's some form of Elvish. I can't read it.
There are few who can. The language is that of Mordor, which I will not utter here.
Mordor?
All right. That's enough. We have some more funny stuff, some more fun stuff, some more hard-hitting journalism. All that's going to have to wait till tomorrow, though. We'll see you then.